works. The interception, balls get intercepted in this league all the time. That's not the issue that we look at. It's not the interception numbers, it's the decisions. And what we need to continue to do with Mark is make him mature in his decision-making process. He makes a lot of really good decisions. Obviously, the third down to start the game last week was not, a very smart decision. And he knows it. And so we're working through that. Again, I know you guys get tired of hearing this, but it's part of the growing process. And we realize we have to fix it. And we got to speed up the process. But, I go back to, a couple years back in San Diego, it was Drew's second full year as a starter. We had to bench him. I mean, we ended up having to go with Doug Flutie. We had to bench Drew. He was making decisions. He was turning the football over. This was a guy that started a full season. It was midway through his second year, and it was those same type of things, just making decisions that you're kind of like, what are you doing? It's costing us games. And, he learned that way. I don't think that we need to do that, but obviously, it's something. My point is, Mark's not the first guy to ever go through this. He's got to overcome it, and he can overcome it. But, we all want to see results, obviously, and hopefully it starts this weekend.
Right, were the other two bad decisions as well?
The last one, was we didn't grade him it was an okay decision. He's trying to make a play. It was third down and long. The first two, there were different things he should have done with the ball.
The last one, should he check down just because it was 4-down territory? Or?
Yeah, he had Dustin running across on a shallow cross. I think we still had one timeout left to get something back. That was the coaching point. But at that point, we had so far to go. We had the penalty knocked us back right on the first play. And so we felt like we had a long ways to go. But, again, that's something that, you still got to hit positive plays, at least give yourself a chance to get down there and get yourself into striking distance.
Johnny, I know it's statistics, but when you look at the fact that you don't have a 300-yard passing game, you only have 4, I think 200-plus.
Mm-hmm.
Is that alarming at all when you look at the big picture? I know you're a running team and a defensive team, but even so, don't there have to be some games when particularly maybe this week?
Sure.
Throw?
Yeah, I think without a doubt, Mark. I think the thing with us when you look at the numbers, obviously we're a run-first team. We know that. Where we've not done a good enough job executing is we haven't finished big plays. There's been different things that have shown up. Braylon had the drop against Buffalo, some things like that. Mark, has missed a couple. But big plays and passing yards don't just come from, balls that get thrown 40 yards down the field. They come from, short passes where guys catch it and make a guy miss or break tackles and do a hell of a job running the football. And we got guys that can do that. I go back to Miami game a couple weeks ago, probably been 6 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever. We hit Jericho on a little shallow crossing route, and he ran up the boundary for about 50 yards. And so that comes from timing. When you throw the underneath passes and guys can catch, it comes from timing, comes from accuracy. It comes from, a rhythm between those guys. And we're, obviously we're not where we need to be in the passing game. We have moments, but consistently we can be better.
How much? Because of the opponent this week, do you have to take on a different mindset offensively, knowing it's probably going to take more points than a typical week?
Well, I think you kind of monitor that. You go in with a plan, Rich, each and every week. You have a plan of how you think each game is going to unfold. You got to be ready to adjust. Obviously, this week we'll be, optimistic, and we have a plan of how we think and believe the game will go, but we'll be ready to adjust if we need to. But, we obviously know they're very explosive. We know that, that they can score points in bundles. And, there's been games where we've been in games like that. We've been able to do it. You go back to the first Miami game, the Houston game, we've been able to, move the ball and score points. And, I think if it's called upon, we'll be ready to do that.
Why do you think that the coaching isn't taking to Mark?
Well, you're scratching your head like I scratch my head. I don't. Again, I haven't done a good enough job. All right, I will say that. I'll take responsibility for that. He knows what to do. Instinctively, he still lives in that mindset of I can make that throw. I can do this. And what we're trying to do, again, is we're trying to clean up his decisions and have him realize that we're a good football team. He's got really good players on the outside of him. He's got a really good player in the tight end. He's got really good players up front. He doesn't have to do this himself. And that's what's been missing. And so we'll continue to try to say it. The thing you do as a coach, you try to say the same thing different ways. Because what might reach Drew Brees might not reach Mark. What might reach Brett might never reach Brett Favre. But you try to say the same thing different ways and see if something catches.
Brian, he keeps going head first. Are you guys doing like extra drills with him to try to change that instinct at all? I mean, that must be driving you crazy.
Well, we've tried Joe Girardi.
Right.
I don't know if that worked, but no, he does some. He'll do some things off the side where he works on sliding. It's just it's a comfort level, Lisa, where he's trying instinctively. He takes off the run, and he wants to go down, but depending on the situation, it just doesn't. His mind tells him to do the opposite.
How much has it hurt you? We knew it would hurt when it happened, but not having Leon as like a third down option, a check down option, it just seems, you talked about guys that can make short plays and long plays. I mean, he was the best you had at that.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit up here and make excuses. Do we miss Leon? Sure. Leon's a great football player. But we have a lot of good players. I think we all saw what Braylon can do last week, how he can stretch a defense. You guys all know the way I feel about Jericho. Our stable of backs, the way Thomas is producing. So we have enough firepower to get it done, and we have to be more consistent. At times we've done it, but it's getting the whole unit to be more consistent, and that's what we're looking for answers and trying to improve.
On the first pick, did he not see the coup, the safety, but did he just see the corner?
What happened, he set shorter than he was supposed to. He was supposed to go a little bit deeper, and he just never saw the relationship of the two guys. It was a cover two. Dustin went down the middle, and they were playing two Tampa, Dan, and so the Mike ran down the middle to protect Dustin, and the safety played up over the top, and he threw it without getting the clear picture of what they were doing. So yes, he didn't see the picture clean.
You knew there'd be bumps in the road with the rookie quarterback, but did you think he'd be further along at this point?
I knew there would be bumps in the road. I knew there'd be games where he'd play well, which I think he's done. I thought that, it'd be a situation where, we'd go a couple games without seeing a couple hiccups, which he did earlier in the season. But again, it will get better, Rich. It will get better. Now, we're foolish if we think next year he won't throw interceptions. He's going to throw interceptions. It happens. But we have to get it. We have to get it cleaned up, and we realize that. And again, this is a good week to start, because if you give these guys the ball, you don't see it without them lighting up the scoreboard.
You obviously can't beat, in theory, beating them with field goals. Is this a game where you might see a 4th and 5, 4th and 6, where you're going for it rather than taking a field goal or whatever, just to make sure you're giving yourself that much better?
Yeah, I think, Mark, again, obviously, that's, something we talk about each and every week, and it's not just based on the opponent, it's based on field position, it's based on wind. There were a couple situations in that game yesterday that would have been 4-down situations because of the wind. But that's something that we'll talk about, throughout the course of the week. But yeah, nobody's going to be surprised when these guys, go and play well offensively. Hopefully, we got the best defense in the NFL, and I think they'll do a hell of a job, and we got to, do our part on offense. But we'll be prepared to play whatever game we got to play, and we know it's going to take some points to win the game.
Clowney was a scratch last week. Where do you feel he is right now?
Well, again, sometimes that's numbers, JP, when you look at it, he kind of falls like all of us, a little bit consistent, inconsistent. He's made a couple great plays. Oakland had a good game, made some big plays, but kind of like all of us, myself included, a little bit up and down.